What's going on, everybody? It's Warren. Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk all things Marvel and everything relating to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And, well, it looks like mine and everybody else's theory of Reed Richards showing up in the finale of Wandavision has unfortunately been debunked, as the director of the show has opened up about what to expect and specifically what not to expect from the finale of WandaVision episode 9 that is just a couple of days away. And some good news right off the bat, it does seem like Marvel is going to address Evan Peters' Quicksilver, whether or not he is from the main Marvel Cinematic Universe and Agatha just picked a random civilian, or if he's actually from the Fox universe and the multiverse is happening, which is going to be great to finally have an answer to. And I'll talk about that later on in this video. It's been a lot of fun dissecting Easter eggs and trying to figure out what exactly was happening in Westview this entire time, but come Friday morning, it's all going to be revealed and we're all going to be a little bit sad that WandaVision is over so quickly. But we still have the finale and there's still a lot to go down. So let's break down what director Matt Shakman had to say about the finale, what he had to say about our fan theories, and what to expect and what not to expect from WandaVision episode 9, the finale. If you're new and you love Marvel, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest MCU videos. So the director of the WandaVision series, Matt Shakman, has recently opened up to some media outlets where he talked about the finale of WandaVision that is coming up, and specifically he talked about some of the fan theories that some of us have created. And although he didn't talk about all of them, there are some big ones that he did discredit. However, he also does go on to give us hope about the finale as well. So let's first start off with what we cannot expect to happen during the WandaVision finale, and then we'll dive into what we can expect to happen during the finale. Now, I think a lot of us by now have realized that some of the theories out there aren't going to happen, sadly, but let's keep it focused on Wanda and her story like director Matt Shakman would have us do. He starts off in one interview talking about how he hopes fans are not disappointed by the finale. During his interview with IndieWire, he said, "I hope they feel like the journey was satisfying for them. I know there are so many theories out there. There will be a lot of people who will no doubt be disappointed by one theory or another, but we're always telling the story about Wanda dealing with grief and learning how to accept that loss. And hopefully, people will find that the finale is surprising but also satisfying, and that it feels inevitable because it's the same story they've been watching the whole time." So it's very clear that director Matt Shakman has heard a lot of the theories that we've put out there. But don't get discouraged by what he says, because he says that he hopes fans aren't disappointed because there are so many theories out there. Mephisto, Nightmare, Cthulhu, Reed Richards. Heck, yesterday I did a video that had about 5 different theories in it. So the point that he's making is that there are a ton of theories out there. He hopes fans aren't disappointed by all of those theories not happening. That's not to say that some of the theories may not happen, it's to say that all of them aren't going to happen, so we shouldn't expect that. Then in an interview with comicbook.com, he specifically talked about the Reed Richards aerospace engineer theory. In the interview, he said that he's sorry for the single tear down every fan's cheek about the aerospace engineer. In this interview, he basically confirmed that we have already in fact met the aerospace engineer. This was most likely Agent Goodner, who greeted Monica and Jimmy Woo. A lot of us thought and hoped that this wasn't actually the aerospace engineer and that they would actually reveal the aerospace engineer down the line. But it appears that we were wrong, as director Matt Shakman says, "I'm sorry," and he also says, "I mean, sure, it would have been great if Reed Richards had showed up in that room. That would have been pretty great." So it looks like the aerospace engineer is not going to be Reed Richards, but was in fact all along Major Goodner. But as I said yesterday, there's no certainty that this is the cameo that Paul Bettany was talking about. Now, we don't know if he was talking about himself, but there is still hope for a surprise cameo, which Matt Shakman kind of talks about later on. But let's talk about what we can expect, and as I mentioned, he did address the Quicksilver multiverse question. Shakman explained that the idea came fairly early in the development of the show, this question of who would be at the door, and grief does a lot to a person in terms of what they're willing to accept. Speaking of course of Evan Peters' Quicksilver, and then he says, "And yes, Agatha lets you know that she was pulling the strings on that, trying to get a little more information." And then when directly asked if Evan Peters was portraying the same character he played in another film's franchise movie, aka the Fox X-Men universe, he was asked if this was an intentional multiverse thread or if this was simply a coincidence. It seems like there's a big surprise coming for the finale, because his response was, "We'll have to meet again some Monday in the future to talk about it." Meaning that he can't talk about it right now because it's going to be revealed in the episode finale on Friday. So one thing that we can expect the finale finale to give us is the backstory of who Evan Peters' character actually is. And is this the first sign of the multiverse? In the same interview, he also confirms that we aren't going to get a major cliffhanger. He said that they're going to wrap up the story of what has been happening in Westview. And he says that he hopes that there's some resolution to that story and that it is satisfying and also surprising to the fans. And again, he used the word surprising, so there is going to be some big surprise during the finale. Possibly Doctor Strange, because he does say that this story is going to continue in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and he does say that there's a lot more to her story, Wanda, to be told. And he says this is only one part of a very complicated and very rich life. Now, the way he talks about this makes it seem like this might be the end for Agatha Harkness. Although I hope not, because that could be a very big waste of a character. But perhaps Agatha's story won't continue in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but pick up somewhere later on in the MCU. But what he did say about the story is that it's not going to pivot, it's not going to do a 180 at the last minute. He says they've known the story that they wanted to tell from the beginning, and it's been building towards a final moment that made sense from the very beginning. He says, hopefully it feels that it's been building momentum and snowballing towards the end. It is continuing to deal with how do you deal with grief and loss and come back from that. And then we've introduced some new players on the table as well, or revealed aspects of certain players on the table. So you now have two Visions on the chessboard, and what does that mean? Who's the real Vision? This is something that we all expected. Obviously the two Visions are going to go at it, and who's going to come out on top, and are either one of them going to remain alive after the end? In multiple interviews, director Matt Shakman has said that WandaVision is a story of Wanda's loss. So does this mean that neither Vision is going to survive, or maybe her children aren't going to survive either? He finishes by saying, she's lost her parents, she's lost her brother, she's lost the love of her life by now, and she's right on the edge. Like, how do you hold together your reality when you're constantly experiencing so much trauma? So again, the story is about loss and trauma. So what happens if Wanda loses her entire family that she made in her perfect reality? If you combine this with the fact that he said this is only part one of Wanda's long, very rich and complicated story, we can expect that there is indeed going to be more loss that puts her over the edge, which of course will threaten the reality because she has chaos magic, reality warping magic. But that's where Doctor Strange comes in. He can teach her to control this magic, and based off of what the director said, I think it's safe to assume that Doctor Strange is going to show up, whether it's in the actual finale or in the post-credit scene of the finale. Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, already said that this first season of WandaVision is season 1, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is kind of like season 2 of WandaVision. And Elizabeth Olsen is already filming for Multiverse of Madness as we speak, so this is going to go right into it. But we haven't heard anything about Paul Bettany being in Multiverse of Madness or either of the twins. So it looks like more loss is going to be coming to Wanda, but she'll have Doctor Strange to help her and guide her in Multiverse of Madness. But what are your final predictions for what's going to happen in WandaVision Episode 9, the finale? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest Marvel videos. Don't forget to give the video a like, and for live updates, you can always follow me on Instagram and Twitter. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.